Yo, what is going on today, YouTube? Hope you guys are doing fantastic today. Yesterday, we went a little off scripted, something that's not as informative. Today, we're back on track. We're back to it. And we're going to be focusing on the meta picks. We're going to be focusing mostly on SPL, but we're going to be talking about those top tier gods. I guess 4 of them are 100% PB'd. One of them is 95%. And then we're going to have an honorable mention, 6th character that are considered the best characters in the game. We're going to be talking about very good gods that you can try playing into them. I think one of these gods is too good to be playing against, but I'll give you some options as what you can be playing into them and why I think it is a good matchup for them. So let's just jump right in, show you guys the gods. This is Blues Ultra. We brought it up a bunch. Content guy, it's Twitter. Blues Ultra gives you, at the end of the week, most picked gods, most banned builds, team stats, all the good stuff. We're going to be focusing on these 5, and then I'll give you an honorable mention at the end. So starting with Ryion. Ryion's been played in 2 different roles, and he plays a little bit different in both those roles, but I think one god can play very well into him in both roles, and it's E-set. Now, this used to be a counter way back in the day. You interrupt his 1, you make it hard for him to dash away because of your 2 interrupts. If he ever all-ins you drop Circle of Protection, and it negates a lot of his damage, and then you heal a lot of it back up, and you're bursting at the same time. You make very good use of the build right now. Full cooldown, Pythags, Genjis, all that good stuff. Yes, you're not as safe as Ryion, but you poke just as hard. You have solid team fight. You've got a lot of CC. And this is a matchup where you should be able to bully out this Ryion early game. Maybe when he gets to that full cooldown, he might outtrade you a little bit. But at that point, you just don't really need to fight him. And you set up ganks onto him really, really well. You pull beads with 3. You pull beads with 2. You can CC enough that your ally can come in if you get his beads down earlier and kill him in the 3-2 combo. So overall, fantastic matchup. I think it's great. One that's more specified for solo lane is Nox. And it just makes it so you kind of clear whenever you want. And whenever your clear is down, you dash away. If he ever all-ins you just trade ults on top of him. Yes, he has slightly better and longer CC, but you have just as much setup CC. He does also have slightly more poke than you do, but your team fight is going to be insane with that ultimate. It's still very good. Full cooldown. You make use of your OP abilities. You can interrupt a lot with your silence. You have area control with your silence, and you're a safe character unlike that E-set. So those are my 2 for Ryion. Next up, Yemoja. One that's a little harder to counter, but I think the Sobek doesn't make a ton of sense into Yemoja because it forces you into that Phantom a lot of the time. I think going Phantom but using it for your teammates is usually the better option. So I think gods like Serb and Xingqian are my 2 picks into Yemoja because they give you that safety and they give you that ability to pull beads and then punish those beads being down. I think Serb sticks out as the go-to. He was played a little bit and he actually played really well into her, but for some reason or another, Sobek is starting to get picked into Yemoja a lot more, or like Charon. But I think Serb is still great into her. Anti-heal, you go that erosion for some anti-shield, you go the Onk, and late game, she's not making a great use out of her kit. You have really good engage, you pull relics. I think it's great. Xingqian, kind of the same thing. You pull relics. You don't really win laning phase with Xingqian, but it's nearly impossible for her to ever hit you with abilities. And if the enemy ADC is trying to like tee off onto somebody on your team, you just walk up, one them, and then jump away. Kind of got to play around the Yemoja ult, but it still feels really good. You can go Onk to get the Onk onto the enemy's back line. And if you need to, you can also go Shell if your team needs it. But overall, I think these 2 play very, very well into this Yemoja. Next up is Awash. And Awash solo is what I focused on more because that's where he's played a lot more. But we're going to focus on who do I think in solo lane deals with him the best. And so far, 2 came to mind. 1, Kuzenbo. I think it is a pretty easy lane for you to pull Awash's relics. Yes, you're probably losing that lane, but it doesn't really matter. You can go Blink, you can go Thorns because you're playing against a BJ Aegis character. You don't need that TP advantage. The only slight problem with this is that early portion of the game is going to be difficult. But if you get that Pesty online, GG's, you're going to be in such a good spot. You can dive late game very well into it, and you're going to be nearly unkillable. The other side of it is Baron, a god that has probably a slightly better laning phase. You can pull relics very, very easily. You can actually trade in his ultimate with your ultimate because you get 50% mitigation and you also can pull relics. You're not as safe, but he's not a very safe character either. All you need is your jungler to play your side a little bit or at least get wards down if you know he's not going to. But I think that is a very viable option there. Next up is Chernobog. This is the one, just ban him. This character is way too OP. Just ban him. But if you do play against him, maybe you want to try some gods against him, see if you can beat him. My 2 that I thought of were Danzaburo and Cernobog. And 2 reasons for both of them. 1, Danzaburo is a very safe god in laning phase against him because you get slow immunity in your 3. You have good CC and setup for your teammates to, set up ganks onto him. You can kind of force out his ult. And if he ever tries to actually ult onto you and like you're not ready to actually take the fight with him, you just ult out, or you even 3 out because you have slow immunity. So it's a really safe matchup. I think Dan is a little strong, like a little bit towards the stronger side. And I think people are underpicking him a little bit. Also with the late game, you do a whole lot of damage. The other side of things, Cern, it's just a laning phase that you can just dominate. If he ults onto you, you should have enough of a lead and be able to play for shield camps and play for purple buffs that you can actually just fight him even if he ults onto you, because of how much power you have in your kit and how much power you have in your passive. Slight problem is you don't have CC immunity, so if he does ult onto you and you're like maybe really low, or you don't have beads, you don't have Aegis, and you're really worried about the fight, it might feel a little bad because it's hard for you to get away. But I still think Cern is a very good character into Chernobog. Next up is the Athena. 2 characters, Geb and Ares. And Ares was a very good pick into Athena, and then he got the nerfs, and then people just stopped picking him completely. We have not seen very much Ares at all. He's still a very good reason, or a very good pick into Athena for multiple reasons. You can cripple her dash. Your 2 gives you CCR, so if she looks to dash taunt, you pop your 2. You're going to be taunted for a lot less time. You have laning phase pressure with your 3 and just your damage with your 1. Your passive is a little underrated because it gives you just power, so you can just out-trade anyone, really. And then with the ultimate is, if she ever ults over to a fight, you can pull her back. If she ever dash taunts you, you just ult and you trade your ult, because if she doesn't ult, then she's going to get pulled towards your team, and then you have cripples onto her, and your team can hopefully at least kill her or maybe bully her out. And at worst, as soon as she dashes in, if you trade ult instantly, then she has to ult out, and then you're just mitigating their engage. Overall, I think this is a really good matchup for Ares. And then the other side of the coin, Geb. Both of these characters have pretty bad laning phases. And a lot of the time, Athena's going to look to dash taunt you. If you just hold ult for that, you ult her and then knock her up. That's a pretty long CC immunity. You don't actually need to like get into the enemy's backline to engage. You just engage onto the Athena who's putting herself out of position. Because that's a big thing. A lot of times she's dashing herself out of position, but she's also pulling you out of position also. But if you can, kind of set her up for your team, that's a winning fight. And if you ever kind of get all in, you can Geb shield yourself, or you can Geb shield a teammate and have like your solo laner play up and take that dash taunt. And it makes it just so Athena just has to play the laning phase and the game just a little bit different. And it's also just, you shouldn't lose that laning phase that hard. You're probably going to lose, yes, but it's not like you are getting smoked, you're getting dominated, there's nothing you can do. You can farm in that laning phase and just get up to level 5 and then be kind of even with her. And then lastly, I wanted to touch on a jungler because we have a bunch of other role gods. Rat, been the most banned. One has been picked already a lot. He's actually got a 61% ban rate, but I just feel like I need to mention him. Thor, you have even globals, you have a better stun because it's with a wall. Yes, your damage might be a little bit lower, but what you do is kind of what Rat does, just a slightly different way, where he's going to be full on diving, looking to kill, maybe building a little bit tankier. You're going to be looking to dive and kind of can also set up your teammates with your 2. I think it might be overlooked that Thor can build into this breastplate also and just have full cooldown to look for what Rat looks for and just wall for poke. And I think that's something that's being overlooked a little bit. So Thor's my first one. You can also wall off his dash, which is a little obvious thing, but I feel like I need to mention it. The next one we're going to mention is Fenrir. Why Fenrir? Well, a few different reasons. It's basically impossible for Rat to win the 1v1 versus you unless you're completely trolling. If you're paying attention, a lot of the times you're able to just out DPS him. You should never get knocked up by his ult. Your jump can jump it. Your 3 is knock up immune. Your ult is knock up immune. There are so many ways for you to avoid it. And then you also have the ability to chase him with his dash, with your brutalize, and you just kind of out DPS him. You're a character that also in the late game can win these 1v1s versus Rat, and you actually have some pretty good one-shot potential. I also think it's a little overlooked that there's the Jotun's breastplate build in the jungle right now. Fenrir is like the OG full cooldown god. Let's bully somebody, get their relics, and then pull them back. And it's just not getting played right now. Yes, he might be not as strong as he once was, but that is just a style that will always work. It's basically the Athena style, but it's better because you also do damage. Yes, you don't have a global, but I still think it's really strong. Those are the 12 gods that I recommend into these top tier gods. I hope you guys enjoy the video because it was kind of interesting looking back and trying to think about what would I do if I was in the SPL again, or what would I do if I'm in ranked and I'm playing against these characters. What are like the min-max picks that I'd be thinking about? But there are also some more niche characters, so maybe some of these characters kind of fly up through the woodworks because of some counter potential. But yeah, there it is. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. I'll see you guys again next time. Peace.